I know this makes me look stupid, but going to these extremes has actually helped me uncover practical strategies to prevent injury flare-ups and old injuries resurfacing. Although it is mixed up with something quite personal, and that is to overcome my nemesis. Here is my nemesis, a workout that includes 10 box jumps, 10 kettlebell swings, and 10 reformer skaters, doing this on repeat for 15 minutes. In particular, the box jumps, which always leaves me with hip flexor pain the following morning. But before you say, Brodie, just don't do box jumps. Well, about 7 months ago, I found out I was going to be a dad. And now that our baby is about 4 weeks away, it seems like squeezing in a 15-minute intense workout will better suit my impending quality of life. So, allow me to rehab this injury, share my insights with you along the way, and hopefully slay this workout once and for all. Let's go to day one. Okay, it's finally time for me to deal with this stupid, pesky, ongoing hip issue. And sometimes I go 6 months, 12 months without any issues, but it just keeps popping up. And then yesterday I did some box jumps, which, led me to spring into action because the hip flexors were really sore after that. So today's day one. We're gonna start doing some hip flexor exercises. We're gonna start with 3 sets of 10. We're gonna aim to do that 3 times today and then progress from there. Before you tune out thinking these exercises have nothing to do with your own injury, the insights I have throughout this journey can apply to any running related pain and will put safeguards in place to ensure your injuries don't resurface. Starting with insight number 1, which is to avoid retreating to safety. Back to my nemesis, the box jumps. I've actually put off doing this exercise for quite a while now because I know the challenge it has on my hips and the likelihood of a flare-up. But retreating to safety and always avoiding tasks that could potentially strain a vulnerable area is just like having a weak point in your armor and just praying that incoming attacks don't exploit it. This is common for runners who often retreat from speed workouts, plyometric exercises, hill running, and other activities based on the fear of past injuries resurfacing or flare-ups occurring. Instead, we need to consciously fortify our weak links by finding a good starting point the vulnerable area can handle and progress from there, which brings me to day number 2. So last night, didn't have any pain in the hip like I've had the previous 2 nights, so always a positive, but I've upgraded to a stronger band. Let's get to it. This brings me to insight number 2, progression of your rehab. That's right, I'm talking to all the runners out there who have been doing bodyweight glute bridges for 3 months and wondering why their injuries keep resurfacing. You will never strengthen the weak links in your armor if you keep fortifying it with sticky tape. Yes, you can start with sticky tape, but then maybe the tape holds things in place enough to eventually stitch it together, then layer it with wool and eventually steel. I progressed with a stronger band for a few days, and then I progressed further by using my hip flexors into a deeper range of movement before then trying out my new armor with my nemesis. Okay, it's been about a week and no pain in the hips. So we're gonna move on and do my next test. Box jumps, kettlebell swings, and some skaters on the Pilates reformer and see what happens. But I wasn't going to know how my battle with box jumps would go until the next day. I wish I did this video saying that I was pain-free last night sleeping, but it was probably at about 4 or 5 a.m. that I started noticing some like little twinges, maybe like a 1 out of 10. I'm like, okay, it's there. So a lot better after doing the same workout, which initially caused about a 5 or a 6 that night. We're on the improve, and now I'm going to progress even further by going back to the green, but adding a yellow. So last week went well, been progressing with my TheraBands, and yesterday tested positive for COVID. So no rehab for the next few days, hanging out with my trackies and Ugg boots, so getting comfy, and we'll keep you updated. Okay, I am feeling 95% better, so ready to get back in. In order for me to get better at this bloody workout that involves those box jumps. And to really prevent this from coming back, I need to increase the strength. So not just doing these resisted sort of stuff, and also speed. So in my gym, I have two exercises, two ideas that I want to implement. It's going to involve the heavy stuff and also the speed stuff. And yeah, we'll see if we can bridge that gap to meet the demands of box jumps and finally tackle this. These are the exercises I progressed for a slow, heavy stimulus using a kettlebell into flexion. Look familiar? And for the fast power stimulus, I've gone with resisted mountain climbers. Yes, I love my sports, and yes, the basketball was on. However, this takes me to insight number 3, which is using your rehab to bridge the gap to meet the demands of your eventual goal. In my case, the demands were box jumps. Most likely in your case, it's either running long distances or running faster or running hills. But a lot of us severely underestimate how hard your body actually needs to work to meet these demands. This image right here helps depict my point perfectly. It looks at the different muscle groups and how hard they're working at different running speeds. So if we can just take the quads, for example, so the muscle on the front of your thigh, even at slow speeds, it is working about 5 times your body weight every single step that it takes. That is enormous. Try replicating that with bodyweight bridges. This is the demand that we need to try and become accustomed to. Even more impressive is the exponential demand in your hip flexors and your hamstrings. So we have your hip flexors here and we have your hamstrings here. This is why hamstring issues are so prevalent when someone introduces speed workouts too abruptly. It's because that the demand and the capacity is clearly overdone because of that abrupt shift. And this is the very same point why I need to introduce power exercises into my rehab. So now I'm back into the swing of things. I did my banded exercises yesterday, which last night I started noticing, not pain, but sort of like awareness around that area, which I think is a good sign because it means that I'm stimulating the injury enough to still sort of promote strength. You know, if I wasn't feeling too much, I'd start to question whether I'm underloading it, but it seems like I'm in that sweet spot and seems to mimic the demands for that box jump, the very rapid sort of hip flexor requirement. I'm alternating days. So yesterday was the fast-paced sort of banded exercise. Today is the slow and heavy kettlebell. So we're going to do that today. If you're copying me at all, at any stage in this video, make sure the kettlebell doesn't touch the wall. I am in trouble. Oh, past Brodie, none the wiser of what is just around the corner. Yesterday was the banded faster hip flexion exercise, and I increased the bands. So I used 2 bands instead of 1, which was a lot tougher. Symptoms last night returned, haven't had them for like maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe a week. But yes, returned still 1 out of 10. I'm not deterred. I think going through the process of progressing the exercises, progressing the band, especially that exercise, seems to be sore the next day if I do it like maybe twice. But then by the 3rd time, there's no symptoms. So I must be getting stronger. So taking that as a good sign. So I'll continue in that fashion. Just by the way, I thought I'd sit down here because I thought Jasmine was going to give me some attention, but she's decided to sunbake and totally forget that I even existed, but didn't get any. Maybe next time. This closely ties in with insight number 4, which is the reassurance that mild pain is okay during your rehab. This includes pain during the exercise, or like me, pain that occurs sometime later. However, you do need to closely monitor your baseline to see if things are tracking in the right direction. This is how my symptoms were tracking from the time of my flare-up. With this trend, I was okay with a mild pain when I progressed my banded mountain climbers because I knew that the next time I did them, I wouldn't have any symptoms and therefore would be getting stronger.
Bumping it up from 10 kilos to 16 kilos because they're the only kettlebells that I have. Let's see how we go.
And that's how the hole got in the wall. But on the upside, the previous blue mark that was on the wall now seems really insignificant, and I now have 2 reasons to paint the wall.
I'm feeling good about today. It is time to tackle my nemesis. No doubt Jasmine's gonna join me, probably just to help out. I do like my sport, so we've got the Giro d'Italia during the workout as well. We are going to tackle this hopefully for the last time. I'll give you a report tomorrow.
Matt Pedersen is trying to come over the top. Can Matthews hold on? Yes, he can.
Go Australia. I knew I had a good feeling about yesterday. I tackled my nemesis, and this morning, absolutely no pain whatsoever. But I'm not gonna stop here. And this is what old Brodie would do. He'd just let things slip away and let the injury resurface in about 6 months' time. But this is new Brodie, and this is my 5th insight. So I pledged to do 3 things. Number 1, I'll continue to do mountain climbers 1 to 2 times per week. I've even told myself to leave these TheraBands attached to my reformer, so I will be reminded to do them. Number 2 is to progress the mountain climbers when appropriate, and don't just become complacent with the same resistance, the same sets and reps and those sorts of things. My 3rd pledge is to do a workout involving box jumps every 1 to 2 weeks. This will help keep my theoretical armor nice and strong, and if you haven't quite reached this pain-free phase yet, and you want to know the exact rehab exercises to do, whether you can keep running or not, and how to interpret your own symptoms based on your specific situation, then check out this resource I created just for you.